Hello and welcome to another episode of the Radiant Achiever Show. Today I am excited to introduce my guest, Scott Garwood. Scott is the founder and Beyond Success coach of LISBA Gatherings, metaLyf, Transformational Growth Partners, and the Legacy Coach. Scott has guided transformations with highly successful and high-profile business leaders, entrepreneurs, and their leadership teams and families, Grammy-nominated recording artists, world champion motorsports, including NHRA, NASCAR, IndyCar, and IMSA. A lot of acronyms, I don't know what they all mean. Those individuals, as well as their teams and other professional athletes, to help them achieve their highest potential, and both personally and professionally. Scott, in 2002, began his own personal search for transformation and growth after successfully climbing the corporate ladder for over 17 years, and realizing that he had worked and sacrificed for what he had worked and sacrificed for could not bring true growth or true happiness, and that there had to be something more. So throughout his own personal journey, he experienced numerous successful accomplishments and dramatic improvements in all aspects of his personal and professional life. He has done a lot of training, has a lot of experience and expertise, and I'll include all of that in the bio in the show notes. But what I love about Scott, and I met him first professionally, but we've become friends, is that Scott lives a LISBA lifestyle. And I'm going to have him tell you what that is. So on any given day, you can find him enjoying the present moment, whether that's riding motorcycles, playing beach volleyball, getting in the ocean, hiking, listening to music, or jumping off of things. And he might talk about that a little bit, while facing his fears and enjoying the beauty of living in San Diego, California. So I'm excited to bring him on, and let's get ready to have him join us.
Okay.
Well, hello everyone, and especially hello to you, Scott. I'm so grateful.
Well, hello to you, Christine.
I am so, all right, I'm just going to warn everybody, this is going to be probably very non-traditional to the first 10 episodes you've seen of me, because Scott's a little jokester. So we might have some fun here, some extra fun today. So Scott, I did your intro prior to this, and I've shared all the beautiful things you're bringing to life. And I know there's one in particular I want you to talk about, which you might talk about in the beginning here, but I'll make sure we loop it in if not. So I'd love to start with you talking about what calling, I call it a calling, you might call it a dream or a passion, but what calling are you bringing to life right now, and why is this important to you?
Calling is a good word. I call it a purpose, my purpose on this planet, if you will. And it's interesting, it's evolved. I don't know if that's happened with you as well and with most of our listeners, but it evolves, right? And so let's go back in the Wayback Machine. And I grew up a very selfish person. So my calling 20 years ago was to be the best and be the center of attention and all that egoic stuff that came with it. But I knew there was something to it. And so from then on, my calling has been largely live by example. And that is live the life that I want to have, that fulfills me, that makes me happy, that makes me peaceful, joyful, all that stuff, and share that with others so they can do the same. And I don't think that's changed in the last 20 years, but it's evolved on top of that to solving global isolation. So what I've realized over the last 10 years in my own personal journey is that your life can be amazing, but if you're doing it on your own, if I'm on this growth journey on my own, it's still lonely. Even though all the pieces can be amazing, it's still lonely. So my purpose for the last 10 years, and especially now, is helping us all come together in a community and environment to where we can grow on our personal journeys together and all share that with each other. And that's largely been my way out of being selfish to becoming selfless. And so now it's all about others, as it started with me 20 years ago.
So what was there something in particular that helped create that shift from selfish to, to others for you?
Yeah. As we all are, if we're listening to this and watching this, we're self-aware people. And I kept catching myself going, why did I say that? Why did I do that? It felt good for a second, but now I don't feel good. It harmed somebody else when I did that, but it made me feel good for a second. And I started catching myself over and over and over. And that was at a time in my life, I think around 2010, where I had success, I had happiness, all my relationships were what I wanted, all that stuff, right? And healthy, but I knew something was missing. And so I started checking in, and I've had mentors upon mentors upon mentors for the last 20 years. And all that came together and helped me understand that, well, it's still all about me. And that gets you to a certain point. And so I started to work a lot on that and release those fears that made me have to focus on myself.
Okay.
And when I experience what it's like to truly selflessly care for somebody else or share with somebody else, then that was all over. I wanted more of that.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And I know we've gotten into some of those conversations in our journey as coaches and our friendship on that, our own personal progression and evolution, right, of the awareness. So I'd love that you touch on that. And I'd love for you to dive into a little bit. I gave the acronym of your, I talked about LISBA, I introduced LISBA, and it's such a great thing that you're creating. I would love for you to talk a little bit about how LISBA, how you came up with LISBA, how LISBA came to be, and what your vision is for, for creating the community that you're creating. Certainly.
Well, thanks for the plug, Chris.
Of course.
This is your show, but just like you're giving back to everybody else. Thank you for that. LISBA, the name came a couple years ago, but it really started, and I referenced 20 years ago. So there was a point in my life where I thought the American dream was what life was all about, and I spent so much time and energy and ego climbing that corporate ladder to get a bigger job and to have more people report to me and make more money. And at the highlight of all that, I had my own bathroom in my office. Ooh, that was, yeah.
I hadn't heard that right? Before. Yeah.
Had my own bathroom and a coffee maker, my own coffee maker in my own bathroom, my own wet bar in my office. And I thought I had made it, but I was miserable. And I don't know if I knew if I was miserable at the time, but it just didn't feel good. And I weighed 80 pounds more, and I was smoking a pack of cigarettes a day at least, and just unhappy with all this power over other people. And my relationship with my wife at the time was nothing to speak of. And we hadn't even talked about kids, and I was approaching 40. And so that's when this started. And a blessing in disguise, the company that I was with said, okay, buddy, we want your bathroom back and you make too much money. So you have a choice. You can stick around and we'll cut your salary in half, or take off and we'll give you this small severance. And it was at that time when it all clicked for me. And it was like, wow, life is short. As far as I know, we're only here once in this body, in this, the body that we have. And I'm almost halfway through or something like that. And it's not cool. It's not what I want. So I got to figure this out. And I've always remembered life is short. We're only here once. So that was the first part of LISBA, and I didn't know it till like 18 years later. And the second part is be authentic. So life is short, be authentic. Like I referenced, over the last 10 years, my real progression has become because I've just owned who I am. Every bad part, every good part, there are no goods or bads, but every evaluation, I show up and this is who I am. You see my name on Team Dancing Bodie. That's who I am. And I haven't hidden that with a whole lot of people for the last 5-6 years. So I've learned in my journey, and I'm sharing this with other people, that when you know life is short, you want to do something about it. And when you show up, no matter who you are, with your full authentic self every day, life's pretty damn awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're creating a community around that to help everybody feel that way.
Right. Well, and so you link in, and it goes back to what you said earlier, you're linking in the part about isolation, and that we don't have to do it by ourselves. What we have like-minded people, we have support, life is to be shared, and we have support no matter what. So I love that you are linking that into all that you are creating. So that's been so fun to see, the evolution of it in our friendship and time together. So was there ever any, I guess, inner struggle for you to step into this next version? What? Why is that so funny?
Was there ever an inner struggle? No, it's been a
No.
cakewalk. The whole thing is a cakewalk.
You were in corporate and they said, thanks, you've done your time. And then you started this kind of evolution. Were you already coaching at that point, or at what, like, I'd love to hear a little more of, like, did you feel it? Did you hear it? Did you see it? Or was this really, again, that awareness and you just kind of slowly let it evolve?
Well, I've done a lot of self-reflection, and when we truly bring out our fears and release them, we have to go in the Wayback Machine back to when we were very, very young. I remember myself at 5 being a leader and being on stage and just giving a show and helping people laugh. And I remember at 7, I put on a magic show in my basement, invited all the kids over, and there was no magic whatsoever, but I thought it was cool, and I charged like a dime or something, or a quarter. So at age 7, I was a leader, and so I always knew I was a leader, and then that got suppressed in the corporate world because I had to make it about making money and make it about results and all that stuff that came with it. And I'm not saying that's bad, just wasn't for me. So what I was also blessed with, not only being a leader from a very young age, I grew up with 4 older sisters. And with 4 older sisters and 2 wonderful parents, the picture that's painted for me is there's no fear. You'll be okay no matter what. They took care of me no matter what happened. And I wasn't an easy brother, but they said, you're okay, we'll take care of you. So I know this is unique, and I'm blessed and grateful for it. But I had relatively little fear to say, by corporate world, I'm going to start my own thing. But I also knew, to your question, I also knew from inside, I need to be leading something. And I went through many versions of that. It started with owning a car business, and I went bankrupt 2 years later, and now I don't even like cars. Talk a lot about that. You love cars. And then it went into a financial business, and that's not who I am, and it evolved. And 5 years after the bankruptcy, I became a coach. And that's when my mentor at the time really helped me understand who I am, and the coaching fit perfectly, so I could live by example, right? Just be myself and live by example. So I was blessed with no fear, but what there was I still feel it now. When I change, and maybe you feel this too, when I change and I grow, and most of the world isn't, you feel disconnected. So on my journey over the last 20 years, I feel more and more disconnected from most people.
Got it.
Most people that I want to connect with, so we can help solve global isolation and help us all change and help us all grow and help us all improve our lives. But I'm becoming more and more disconnected from the average person. So that's something I have to constantly work on.
Right.
Constantly be cognizant of, because I want to connect.
Totally.
That's my challenge.
Yeah. And we can connect. And I think we've had these conversations, connect in different ways, right? So you and I love doing the deep dive together, something we do on a regular basis. And I'm a big believer in, we can have a positive impact on somebody standing in line at the grocery store, right? Or it might be just saying one sentence to them. It just might be asking, how are you doing? And so we can connect. And I don't even want to call it a superficial way, but like all kind of always matter. But I totally, I get what you're saying. And I definitely am creating that soul tribe for me. And I think this is important for everybody to find the people that help, that are like, I don't say pushing you, but like helping you expand your horizon for your life and allow you to explore that in a way that is authentic to you versus being shoved into yet another box of self-improvement or another box of personal growth. But really, which I love what you do and what you stand for is that authenticity. And whether you're a dancer, you're a jokester, you're a creative, you're a golfer, you know, whatever that is, just fully owning who you are is something that you speak and live yourself every day. So that's super fun. Super fun to see. You're welcome. You're welcome. So let's, like, what's really shifted about you since you really started taking this new path of as a coach, you know, this being the model, being the kind of walking the line yourself. How have you changed? And you've talked about it a little bit, but if there's anything else you want to add to that.
How have I changed over my entire
I mean, you
personal
can,
growth journey?
well, it doesn't even have to be that long. If just, you know, you can take the last couple years, even whatever time frame is coming up for you to speak to. It's all relevant.
Got it. The big one, you know this, you and I have talked about this for both of us at length, great length, and in great depth. 2017, I asked my higher power. For suffering. Now, does that make any sense whatsoever? Why anybody? Hey, help me suffer.
No.
that was it. I've had this blessed life, and it's been great. And it's for someone to look outside in at my life to go, wow, you have zero to complain about all this time. And for the most part, they're right. But this thing, my monkey mind gets caught up in, well, it should be better, all that stuff, right? And what I realized is that the entire thing, every day, every hour, is a journey. It's all part of the journey. I went golfing this morning at 7:30 a.m. and things happened on the golf course that I learned from. So it's just every second has become a learning portion of my journey, and that's just become who I am. So back in 2017, I said, okay, things feel pretty great. But I read this philosophy within Buddhist philosophy, and I've learned from all the religions, all the faiths, all those mentors about suffering. And until you suffer, you can't really have a Buddha nature or a Christ nature or all that stuff. And I said, well, I've never really suffered in that. Help me suffer. Viewers, I don't recommend actually asking for that, but
you're right.
In hindsight, of course, it was all fantastic for my own growth, and so I can share it with other people. And the suffering came around relationships. It came around love. We all hear about love, and we have our own versions of what love means. And at the time, I thought all I knew was romantic love, and I was in love with my wife of 28 years because she did these things for me and because I did these things. So it was all conditional. And I didn't know any reference at that point to what unconditional love. And then somebody entered my life that taught me and helped me experience unconditional love. And I was like, wow, I need this. I have to have this. And the suffering came in the form of being attached to that feeling and being addicted to that feeling, and translated to addicted to that person and that relationship. And so I took a 28-year marriage, which was really nice, and stopped it. Again, fearless, right? And jumped in, feet first, whole body, all in, and became addicted and attached to this person, which represented unconditional love to me. And that started a 4-year journey of constant growth on a daily basis, full of depression, full of really bad days. I picked up a autoimmune disease physically. I was drinking a lot, all that stuff. and just a really bad time. But the entire time, because I was far along in my personal growth journey, I knew that it was for a reason, and I knew it was so I could live by example. And 3.5 years later, I evolved from that. Like, wow, I really like me. I really like me, and there's nobody else around, and that's okay. And that's where the loneliness and isolation piece kind of clicked. Like, one of my clients from a while back owned a company worth $700 million, 300 employees, and I talked to him in the middle of one of their quarterly reviews, and there was 200 employees in that room that all say, "Hey, we love you, we love you, we love you." And he turned to me and he goes, "It's amazing how lonely you feel surrounded by people that say they love you." And
Wow.
that's when it clicked. It's not about being by ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
It's feeling alone in a sea of other people, or while we're by ourselves. And the core of that is, which I learned through all this suffering, was to love ourselves. And it took me 3.5 years.
Yeah.
Through many
Wow.
relationships to love myself.
Wow.
And I'm still building on that today.
Yeah. Well, we've had those conversations, and the conscious loving ever after. There's 2 versions of the book, but I know that's a go-to resource for you. It's something you've introduced me to, and I talk and teach and write about this too. That self-love piece is so paramount in how relationships are a big place of suffering. I didn't necessarily ask for that in my relationship, but I was continuing to put myself in that place of suffering. And like you said, then all the things all the growth we get to go through as a result of that, when we start to see it beyond just the suffering, but to really elevate and become aware that this is happening for a reason, and it's for my growth. So, okay, so you asked for suffering, you got it in a big way.
Bam.
You really were in the trenches for a while. I didn't know you back then, but I know you've shared those stories, and then you came out of it with this, hey, I love myself. This is pretty cool. And then again, the connection piece. So is that when, so I want to talk about like then the evolution of LISBA, right? Because I know that's continuing to evolve, and I've been on some of those conversations a year ago with you as you were like taking it to that next level. So do you feel that as a part of your journey with relationships and isolation and loneliness, that helped catapult that next level vision in your business?
It did. And for yours, radiant achievement isn't a business. You understand that.
Yeah.
We do get paid because we need to exist, and we can't keep helping people unless revenue comes in. But it's really our calling and it's our purpose.
Yeah.
Has it catapulted that? Absolutely. When I started to experience self-love, it's not something we can read or do. We have to go through the stuff. And when I started to experience self-love, I started to realize, wow, I was coaching people because it made me feel good.
Yeah.
I was coaching people because it did something for me. Byproduct, it really helped other people, but for large part, for many years, I was coaching people for selfish reasons, and still working on that, because that was who I was for 40 years, 38 years. Still chipping away at that. Through this self-love evolution process, I realized when I don't need anybody else around to fill any voids of mine, I don't need to build a community to make me feel better about me. I want to build a community to help other people feel like this. And that's about them.
Yeah.
I don't need
completely
them to
different
feel good about
perspective
me anymore. Yeah.
Right. So
And
would you say
that's when my
Go
mind
ahead.
really shifted from me to we. From me to we.
I love it.
If 10% of our country went from me to we, what would happen?
Holy cow. Yeah. Trees would start popping up in random places. I think flowers and all that stuff. It would be beautiful. And I know, there's a growing collective of people that are all focused on that thing. So my next question is about superpower, like, and not superpower, an inner power. I talk in radiant achievement. I teach 7 powers. There's a whole bunch of powers, however people frame it. What would you say has been one of your inner powers that you've really utilize to help you on your journey in life?
It was fearlessness, and that got me a long way, a very long way in the last 20 years, because I would just take huge chances and know that I'd be okay. And the bigger the risk, the bigger the opportunity to grow, the bigger the result, right?
Yeah.
The bigger step you take, the more that you get from it. And that really helps through the last 20 years. But what it is now, it's true authenticity. And maybe there's a better word for it, but I show up and I just go, blah, this is me.
You do.
And most people are like, well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Funny at times. He's super, I think the ideal call for me at any time with anybody is when we cry and laugh in the same conversation. You can just be authentic. I mean, this is what I'm going through. 2 nights ago, I drank too much and I really don't like myself for that. That's actually happened to me, and I'm sharing it with you, and there's nothing to hide.
Right.
And now the romantic relationship in my life, we both get to be that way. And it's so effortless.
Yeah. The thing I love about you is it is that total acceptance of whatever is going on, whoever you are being in the moment, it's okay. And there's that shame, that self-judgment. I never get that from you. You might feel, bad about it, because we can all feel bad after the fact, but it's not something that you're going to go down a rabbit hole and sulk and relive and just churn in your head about. You acknowledge it, you sense it, and you reflect, and then you move on from there. So yeah, I think that's a great thing, because how many people are stuck in self-judgment? The majority of the world, all the time, and because that's the culture we live in, right? And people, like, what we're creating is helping to turn that tide around, where the more we love, accept, acknowledge, appreciate ourselves, step into and pursue those things we authentically want to pursue, the more fulfilled, the more we can love unconditionally, and it just all blossoms from there. So
Coach, you've already helped me evolve just on this call. Thank you.
Really?
Yes, I think the
How's that?
current level of my calling and my purpose is to show up with anyone and everyone every day as much as possible, and be a safe space for them to be themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, Coach.
You do that. Yeah, for sure. We both do that in our unique ways, right? And which is why I love once you really started bringing to life LISBA, and the thing that's interesting. We have so many parallels in our lives. Is that the number of years in corporate? We both were in corporate for 17 years. Different parts of our journey overlap. And this thing about it's LISBA is a lifestyle, right? Life is short, be authentic. So it's about being authentic, following your passions, being who you are, loving unconditionally, all those things. And radiant achievement is a lifestyle too. And so we can be leaders, we can achieve within that framework. It's that foundation that allows us to live and experience every day with joy. As we bring our things to life, whether that's developing a relationship, a business, a home, just having fun, which I know you're all about. You're all about having fun in the journey. You have a little bit more fun than I do, I think, along the way. You've helped me with that for sure. So this is the Radiant Achiever Show, and you're my second male guest. And I know you're bummed you weren't the first, but what does, whether you call it being a radiant achiever or radiant achievement, I know you've read my book. What does radiant achievement, I'll just use that, mean to you?
Well, you and I are the same, and our callings are the same. We just have different language. Yours is more cool than mine. I fully admit. And what we're both saying, radiant achievement and be authentic, is, you know what? Here's me, share my light with the world. no matter who me is, and be able to work on the things that help us get to the place where we can just say, here's me, and then be that light for the world. And that's, to me, what radiant achievement is. And it's the same as be authentic for me.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. Yeah, and you do shine your light all over the place, all over the place.
It's called a forehead with no hair on it, Chris.
Oh, maybe that's
so the light shines off, and
that's got to be it. Okay, now I get it. Thank you.
It's called a radiant head.
Radiant head. Perfect. So we have people watching this, listening to this, that are, maybe feeling isolated, or they're stuck, and there's something more they might know what it is, or maybe they don't. What Dance and Bodie wisdom would you like to give today to help somebody move forward and maybe light that flame a little bit more inside themselves?
I think, thank you for asking me. I've been relatively ineffective at that for 20 years. However, I've known that, and that's something I've really looked at myself on. One of the things that I've been ineffective at, or not, it's just not part of my sweet spot, and that is being that person for most people, just to take an initial comfortable step and to start taking a look at themselves. For some reason, I scare people, but the world is actually helping us with that. And when we look at the news, which I rarely do, but we have golf stars, we have tennis stars, we have movie stars, we have we have people that are put on a pedestal by our culture, saying it's okay to not be okay with our mental health. So the world is doing it for us, and I'm learning from that, and we're collaborating with people in LISBA that have that gift and have that sweet spot. So anybody that says, my life, there's part of it that isn't what I want, it's that simple. As long as they want to at least take a look at doing something about it, it's okay to not be okay. And our culture is starting to embrace that. And that's a really big deal. And I think COVID really helped us do that, because it shifted everything up. It shook everything up, and it helped us see. It took the distractions out of our lives and helped us see what's really important. Our relationships, especially the one with ourselves.
Yeah.
So our new normal from this point on, since everything's been shaken up, our new normal can be, okay, what do I want to take a look at within myself that will help my life be better going forward? And your first step could be to watch this video.
Right. Beautiful advice. Awareness. Absolutely.
Yeah,
awareness. It's a great starting point. Otherwise, and I talk about this a lot, we're on that, and this was me, we're on that hamster wheel or on the treadmill, and how many people, again, I'm going to raise my hand, how I was living, I was going through the motions of life. Every day I had my same routine, got up the same time, ate the same things, went through the same process, not consciously, not mindfully. And when I started becoming aware, and I know it can be scary. I know, because, and I think this is one of the things I wrote about recently in a blog, is it seems really overwhelming to start to become aware of things, because it's almost like you're afraid you're opening Pandora's box. And it absolutely can feel that way in the beginning. But we can take it one little baby step at a time, right? And we don't have to like throw everything out in our lives, or just say our whole life is a mess, even though it might be a mess. We can just take one little chip away at it a little bit at a time, and then big pieces then ultimately start to fall off, which is when it gets really fun. So it's, it's fun.
There's an equation that I learned from a mentor many years ago, and I had forgotten about it. Thanks again, Coach, who triggered a memory. The human mind, our minds are very simple. We do what we want. We don't do what we don't want. And if we don't do what we do want, or we do what we don't want, there's some disconnect. And the equation that I learned was, say this is our level of comfort. This is our comfort level. And for most of us, myself included, before I went bankrupt and finally raised my hand, said, wow, that's painful. I would need to do something about that. If the perceived pain level of making a change in our life is bigger than our current comfort level, no matter how bad it is, we're not going to do anything.
Yeah.
As soon as our current uncomfort level gets more than our perceived pain level of changing, we do it. So what the question you asked is, how do we reduce that and just help people see, well, you know, it's not too bad, but it's not what I want, but I'm only here once. Maybe I can take a look and make that little step.
Right.
Instead of waiting for a bankruptcy to and sitting across
or a health crisis or whatever.
Or a health crisis and crying and saying, I'm devastated, I'm depressed. That doesn't have to happen. And if we could, when we solve that, we'll make we'll have the answer.
Wow, we'll be We'll be on Oprah.
Yeah.
Let's do that, Scott.
We don't have to wait for a big
no
bad thing to happen in our lives for us to make a small change.
Yeah. Well, so what pops up in my head now, and this is joy. So I had a conversation with somebody yesterday, and a couple conversations this week, and I've been focusing on this is really, and I say it, joy in the journey, like how we've become so conditioned to living joyless lives, or only joy is only at certain moments. It's only when the day is done and I'm relaxing with a glass of wine, or it's only when I'm having a family dinner, or it's only when blah, 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 you fill in the blank. And what if we set that intention every day to have joy, to experience joy, to feel joy, no matter what the circumstance is? And how do we need to show up? You know, what are we thinking? What are we doing? It really forces you to face some of those old conditioned beliefs and stories that keep you out of joy. So that's something I will be exploring more. But I said it because I know you are a very joyful person, and so I wonder if joy is something you consciously curate or focus on or feel as you start your day.
Well, let's continue working on that joy together and growing through joy instead of suffering. That's something that I've been focused on for a few years too. You get to a point, I got to a point in my growth journey where it just became who I am. And like I said, I go out on a golf course this morning, and a friend of mine said something and I learned from it. I wrote it down. I called him Yoga Toes.
Oh.
we were talking about about golfing with no shoes on and with no glove on, and just feeling the club and feeling the ground. And he said, yeah, we would need to put our yoga toes down into the grass. Now his nickname is Yoga Toes. And so,
oh my gosh.
But I learned from that and I wrote it down. It's like, yoga toes, that makes sense. Maybe we can use it. Here I am talking about it. So every aspect of life is a learning moment. But it's not learning to get rid of suffering anymore. It's learning because it makes me happier.
Yeah.
So I got to a point in my journey where the personal growth journey and professional growth journey became about joy instead of suffering. And I don't remember how it happened. It's just because I kept going, and the suffering kept getting less and less and less and less. And what places it is joy.
Yeah. Beautiful. Love it.
I learned from I forgot a book, maybe Brene Brown, maybe somebody else. We are afraid of joy.
I haven't heard that.
We are afraid of joy. We're fear of joy, because when we experience it, the underlying "I'm not good enough" kicks into gear and says, "I'm not good enough to feel this way for very long."
That upper limit, as Gay Hendricks talks about, that upper limit of what receiving joy or worthiness or whatever that gets bumped up against. Interesting. Yeah.
So as we release our fears, release our layers, let them go more and more and more, that equation appears, and we can just have joy for longer. That's what I've experienced over the years.
Yeah. I believe it's our natural state, right? And we've added all these layers of conditioning and beliefs and hurt emotions and experience, and we keep putting it on our bodies, right? Physically, energetically, and it weighs us down. So let's shed those emotional layers. Yeah. That's my little sound for the day. So Dance and Bodie, what is the best way for people to connect with you? Where are you at? Online, and it was Instagram or a website? Share how people can check you out and what you're up to with LISBA and all your other things.
Well, unlike the old me, I would share with everybody that to check us out. Check out the community full of all of us making a difference. A community is definitely not about me, and that feels really good to be able to say that. It's about all of us. We're all equals in it. And go straight to the website, yourlisba.com, yourlisba.com. And right there, it shows the options to get involved. We have very simple, small steps like, bless you, hey, let's get together online and just share, or if that's too scary, we can go out. We live in San Diego, we can go out and surf, or we can go on a hike and just connect with each other a little bit more. Those are the first steps for a lot of people. Okay. Second steps are we can join a gathering or we can get coaching. But as long as we take one step and be part of a community bigger than ourselves and realize we're not alone, that's the magic.
I love it. Yourlisba.com. And I know you're doing a lot of meetups. If someone listening is in San Diego, I want to plan ahead to get on the volleyball, to do the beach volleyball beginner level, because that just sounds very fun. Schedule wise, it hasn't worked out yet, but that is very fun. And again, you're all about having fun. So if someone is not having fun, I think that my plug is the meetups are a fun way just to get around other like-minded people, have fun in a relaxed atmosphere. And I know you always bring a little twist of stuff to it. So surprises are always there with you.
Well, if we're playing beach volleyball, for example, and we're all serious about it, why are we there? Right. And I've learned over the years when we become a little less serious and just focus on having fun, our beach volleyball gets better automatically. Yeah. So I
love it.
That's the purpose.
Love it. Fun, joy, community, growth. Like, what's not to love about it, right? Like
yoga toes.
Yoga toes. Okay. It just sounds, it sounds like a great life. And again, I've enjoyed and continue to enjoy our friendship, our camaraderie, swapping stories, diving deep, sharing insights, reflecting off each other. And I'm so grateful that you were here today on the Radiant Achiever Show. You are a Radiant Achiever. And it was a pleasure. And I know we'll be connecting soon.
Awesome. May we end with a hug.
Yes. Here we go.
Right.
Virtual hug.
Good. Thank you so much.
Scott's a great hugger. Oh, you're
Thank
welcome.
you. I love you. Thank you.
Love
so
you
much.
too. Great seeing you as always.
Bye.
Bye.